The time is at hand.
From the city of crackheads, just on the outskirts of Williamson, West Virginia, you're in Dark Places. It's Mothman season. Are you aware of that? This weekend is the Mothman Festival, and I will be there with my son Brandon, and we will be men in black, terrorizing the onlookers there at the Mothman Festival. It's always a good time. So if you see us, come and tell us some stories. We'd love to hear from you. So in honor of the Mothman Festival, I've got some Mothman stories for you this week. I was in Flagstaff, Arizona. Second appearance by Flagstaff. Shout out. I was in Flagstaff, Arizona in July of 2020, looking to spend the night in my fifth wheel trailer near Lake Mary, which is about 5 miles outside of Flagstaff. I had just driven up from Phoenix. It was about 10 p.m. and I was tired and I wanted to sleep and get up the next day, find a spot in the National Forest where I could stay for the next couple months. Pulled into a side road near Lake Mary and was going to sleep in my fifth wheel, still connected to my truck. It was pitch dark with no lights anywhere and tall pine trees all around me. I got out of my truck and headed toward the door of my fifth wheel when I see these two glowing red eyes up 20 to 30 feet in the pine trees. I had no idea what I was looking at, so I just kept staring at it. I thought maybe they were those red airplane warning lights, but I concluded that they definitely weren't and were a lot closer than I originally thought. They seemed like eyes and were slightly swaying back and forth. I got the intense feeling that I was being watched, and I got so spooked that I decided to get out of there and ended up parking and sleeping in a Walmart parking lot. I had never heard of the Mothman at the time. Years later, I heard about it, and the red glowing eyes matched what I saw that night. Also read of other sightings of the Mothman in the Flagstaff area. I'm pretty sure it was the Mothman. There are literally hundreds of Mothman sightings and stories. Yeah, but I don't know. I think that was a Bigfoot. Sorry. Back in 1915 in Sweden, there was an accident that occurred with the Mothman. It was reported that a man-sized bird figure with wings and glowing red eyes was spotted many times before the accident and during, also, where people don't know if it caused it or harmed them, but the locals said it tried to warn them, and when the smoke settled it was gone. They referred to it as to a Swedish folklore entity of omen predictor, as many cultures have its own cultural spiritual version of the Mothman, but the Mothman was not famous back then, and especially not as it is today. And the Mothman phenomena got famous after the Point Pleasant incident and the Chernobyl incident. But it was Mothman, I'm 100% sure, but the locals didn't know at that time. That was the name given to it later on, so I believe that if they were going back in history, it would have probably been a lot of sightings in historical catastrophes worldwide of Mothman. This happened in Kiruna, Sweden in 1915. Never heard of that. I have to look for that. I saw this on March 16th, 2025, near Lake Pleasant, Arizona. Mothman seems to love pleasant places, doesn't he? I don't know. Point Pleasant, Lake Pleasant? I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence. I saw this near Lake Pleasant, Arizona while driving across the desert. It scared the S out of me. Bigger than an owl, about the size of a human. Flew toward me, then away as I was driving at night. Did not know what it was until I saw this article. I saw a Mothman in 2006 or 2007, just before dark. Me and a few other friends all saw it. We were on skateboards and it swept by us and crashed into a tree above us, knocking down fairly large branches. Later, we were driving around and saw it again, at night. It flew above us as we were just talking about what we all saw. It had bay-like wings, but looked fairly human. This was in rural East Michigan. In 2024, in Park Ridge, Illinois, a town located close to O'Hare Airport, My boyfriend and I accidentally summoned a spirit in the woods late at night during a blood-red moon. He said he sensed something, so he was screaming, "I see you. Come get me," taunting it. He said he never heard anything until it started growling at the back of both of our bike wheels. We were both shocked. I started biking way ahead of my boyfriend and it started chasing me. This time the noise it made just sounded like something out of the Jurassic Park movies. That's the only way I can explain it. A little bit before I got to the road, it left me alone. We talk about it until this day. I feel very traumatized that I was the only one who heard the loud roaring. I feel alone, knowing this might be something that sticks with me forever, that people won't understand fully. I've seen Mothman twice now, and I'm kind of scared to leave my house now. The first time I saw it, I was driving home from a school dance, and he dive-bombed my car. And the second time I saw him, I was looking outside my bedroom window because I was bored. I saw him dive into my neighbor's backyard, and a few seconds after, I assume it landed, a lightning bolt struck the area where it landed. My parents described an eerie encounter they had while traveling down a back road. As they were driving, they saw something crouching down on the side of the road, looking toward the ground. From about 75 to 100 yards away, it appeared to be about the size of a wild boar. As they approached at 50 to 55 miles an hour, it looked toward them and stood up, appearing to be human-like, about 4.5 to 5 feet tall, but then it reached upward with huge wings and flapped them down. It flew toward in one big swoop and disappeared into a bright amber/yellowish flash of light. As they passed by the spot where they saw it, there was heat haze lingering where the flash had been, and possibly some lingering light. They did not mention red eyes. They were both freaked out and have the exact same description. This happened in South Carolina. I've never told anyone this or talked about it to anyone besides the people that were with me that night, and my best friend that claims to have seen him, Mothman, at a different date that I didn't know about until I described my experience to him. I lived in a small town, Bastrop, Louisiana, with my cousin and his wife. There's not much to do in Morehouse Parish besides drive back roads like we've done thousands of times before. Then, one night in 2015, we were leaving a church we used to clean, and it was around 2 a.m. or so. We were in my cousin's 1990 GMC Sierra single cab 4x4, and we decided to ride back roads. So we're cruising, me and him are talking and listening to Nirvana. Hey, there you go. Good stuff. We played music together. But anyway, his wife was asleep in the middle seat when we turned on a paved road 5 miles or so outside of town and come around a curve, and there was something we had never seen before. I'm an avid hunter in the woods all hours of the night and day. I was in the Army, but never had been more freaked out by something than what we witnessed. There was something dead in the road, and something was eating it. When the headlights hit it, it looked up. It was about 2.5 to 3 foot tall and was kneeling over whatever it was eating. It had red eyes and stood up so fast it seemed like a millisecond. And it was about 7 to 8 feet tall. So I guess 2.5 to 3 when it was squatted down, I guess. Yep. It was pitch black. Its skin looked like a bat skin, but it was darker. And in one fell swoop, it leapt and its wings opened and it flew into the woods on the side of the road. It had to be moving about 50 miles an hour. Wildest experience of my life. And I've always been cynical when it comes to paranormal stuff, but I know what I saw that night, and so does my cousin. Me and 2 other buddies went deer hunting on a farm in southwest Virginia. The road leads to a gravel road outside of city limits, so it's pretty rural. On that gravel road, before first light, I saw a lengthy black mass, but I'm convinced it was Mothman. Did not see the famous red eyes, just a tall creature roughly 6 feet tall above the truck, just where I could see in the windshield. I would estimate the wingspan of this being at least 6 to 7 feet. As it flew, it never flapped its wings once. It was gliding, but defying gravity. I got to see it for about 10 seconds before it vanished into the darkness. At first, I thought I was hallucinating or just seeing stuff, until I said, did you all see that too? And one of my buddies saw the being. The driver did not. Nothing else weird happened that day, but it was enough to freak us out. It's been 2 years since that happened, and I still can't wrap my head around it. My buddy and I used to ride back home to Jackson County together when we had breaks at Marshall University. That's where I went to college at. Did me a lot of good. We like to drive through Point Pleasant because it's more pleasant than taking the highway. That's why it's called Point Pleasant. During one trip, I swear I saw the Mothman fly over his car while we were a few miles outside of Point Pleasant. That's my thing. People think that he's just sitting there hanging out in Point Pleasant all the time. If I was Mothman, I would just go out and see the world. You don't just stick to Point Pleasant, right? I don't know. What we saw, I would describe as a griffin because it was sleeping perched. I thought someone bought a huge Nazi symbol on account of me moving in with my ex. His last name was Polish and mine was Jewish. It was my grandmother's husband. But anyway, it was statue color, a bird, but its head was very flat and wide. I lived in Savannah, Georgia, and seen many statues in Bonaventure Cemetery. I was even writing a book about them and famous local stories, so I've seen my fair share of statues, but their eyes never opened like this one. Then it flew at the car. I was afraid I was about to be covered in glass, so I ducked and covered my head, but I wanted to see it still. So I looked in the dash, and as far around as my eyes could see from the passenger side, and the thing was massive, at least 7 feet, with double wingspan. It drifted up like I'd imagine a dragon, but the way they swoop and float, that motion, I can't think of anything else that does that, but the thing was gone. We put 2 and 2 together about this tree in front of the house. It was my fiance's parents' house at the time, and we stayed there a lot, for weeks or months at a time, but we weren't the owners. His parents were. An old tree, one day, out of nowhere, had claw marks, like a cat scratch on a post, but they were 6 feet tall. So was my ex. We couldn't figure out what animal was that big, but we weren't used to backwoods areas being from the city. When we heard foxes, we almost called the cops. I thought a lady was screaming, so I accepted a lot of things as just being unfamiliar, but it made sense when we saw it. I'm a resident of Kerrville, Texas. Have been for 7 years, and I've never seen anything weird around here. It's a large town, but it's quiet. Hardly any crime or anything. About 2 weeks ago, I was walking in the Louise Hayes Park near the middle of town at maybe 8 p.m. Not dark yet, but getting there. I saw him, huge wingspan, about the length of a car, and the red eyes, kind of like headlights. I only saw him once, flying over me as I was walking the trail through a more densely forested area of the park. Maybe a week later, we experienced a pretty bad flood. You may have seen it on the news. Over 100 dead, and more than that are still missing. I may have seen something near Quan Dog Park that my best guess would be that it was a Mothman. Looking off toward a gap in the trees next to the railroad tracks was a large black figure. It was like someone with football shoulder pads on, had a big black cloak over themselves, peeking out. Or even a giant black bear for some reason, I thought. It didn't make much sense to me. It seemed to be looking out onto the park, and definitely noticed me noticing it. It crouched down a bit, and things shifted. I couldn't get closer where I was because of the fence, so we walked around and up a back path, but I didn't see anything. Are there homeless people that sleep up by the tracks in those woods? I'll just always assume that it was Mothman. All I know is, about an hour, around 4 p.m., before the Silver Bridge fell, my father and his brother traveled over it. They saw a red light over the bridge. Dad said it was like fog and it hovered. They both assumed it was a weird red fog, maybe from a nearby plant, but it was only at the entrance of the bridge as they crossed it. As he was leaving the bridge, he looked back in his rearview mirror and it was gone. An hour later, he was miles away by the time it fell. They were traveling back from Ohio to West Virginia. My father didn't believe in Mothman, space aliens, demons, or anything else. For him to say that, it was really weird. Both my uncle and my father said they saw it, so I believed them. For years, I've kept these experiences to myself, unsure of how to explain what I saw, or if anyone would believe me. We believe you. I should mention that I'm agnostic and generally try to be skeptical. But as time has passed, I've come to realize that these events are a part of who I am. A strange chapter in my life that still lingers in the back of my mind. These events have stayed with me over the years and I haven't been able to find any logical explanation for them. I've decided it's time to share my story. Not just for myself, but in the hope that someone, somewhere, might understand what I have went through. These are the events that changed my view of the world, and even now, they continue to haunt me in ways I can't fully explain. So here it is, the truth of what happened, starting with the fireball in the sky. This strange series of events began when I was around 10 to 12 years old, one night when I was heading to stay the night at my cousin's house in our small rural community in Oklahoma. My mom had given me permission, and even though it was already late, we set out on foot. My cousin lived about a mile away down the road in a quiet area surrounded by farmland and dense woods. As we walked about halfway to his house, we both noticed something unusual in the sky. A fireball, orange and red, was descending. What was odd about it was that flames were shooting out from its sides in a V shape, almost like the fiery trail of a craft entering the atmosphere. The flames were sharp and intense, as if they were stabilizing in the object's descent. We stopped in our tracks, transfixed by what we were seeing. As the fireball continued its descent, it slowed down, almost hovering, before disappearing behind the tree line. It didn't fall randomly. It seemed to be guided, moving with purpose, which made the whole thing feel surreal. This incident has stayed with me all these years, especially considering the controlled way it descended with those V-shaped flames. It was unlike anything natural, more like a craft entering the atmosphere than a meteor or falling object. The metallic craft. Next, I had a strange and unforgettable experience at school during an after-school event. I was outside with a group of friends when I wandered off alone toward the gym. That's when I saw something odd in the sky. A shiny metallic kite-shaped craft, hovering about 50 feet above me. It was completely still, emitting a faint hum. I remember thinking it almost seemed like it was watching me. For a moment, time seemed to slow down as I stared in disbelief. After what felt like about a minute, the craft suddenly shot off at an incredible speed, taking off at a 45-degree angle without turning, leaving a blurry streak behind. It was so fast that I barely had time to process what I had just seen before it vanished into the distance. The shadow figure. One night after school, I went back to a stick fort my friends and I had built in the woods behind the school. I was alone, working on the fort, when I noticed something strange. About 200 feet away, a dark figure was moving through the woods, emitting a low humming sound. The figure appeared to float with no visible legs, and was cloaked entirely in black. In my mind, it looked like something from the Lord of the Rings, like a ring wraith. I froze in place, terrified, as the figure stopped in front of me, and seemed to turn and notice me. Panicking, I ran straight through the fort's wall, sprinting through thorns and a boggy area until I reached the highway, where I followed it for miles back home. The voices from the woods. Another unsettling experience occurred when my cousin and his twin sister told me that they had been hearing voices calling them from the woods. I didn't think much of it at first, but I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that it gave me. One day while visiting her house, I experienced it firsthand. We were outside playing when we suddenly heard two voices calling us from deep in the woods. The voices sounded just like my cousin and my sister. Soft, friendly, coaxing us to come closer, inviting us to play. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, and a chill ran down my spine. There was something wrong about it. The voices felt inhuman. Terrified, we yelled back, telling the voices we weren't coming to them, but for them to come to us instead. The voices didn't respond, and after a few tense moments, everything went silent. The next day we asked other kids from our school who lived nearby if they knew anything about it. None of them had heard or seen anything. There was no explanation for what we had heard, and it left us deeply unsettled. The blue orb. One night while staying at my cousin's, something strange and unforgettable happened. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to fall asleep. The room was dim, lit only by the faint moonlight filtering through the window. My cousin didn't have curtains or blinds, so the driveway outside was clearly visible. As I started to drift off, a soft bluish white glow caught my eye. At first I thought it might be car lights or a reflection, but I sat up and looked out the window. I realized it was moving deliberately, too smoothly. It wasn't random. I was instantly terrified, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, but my curiosity got the best of me. I got back toward the window to get another look, and then, as if aware of my presence, it began to descend slowly, gliding down to the driveway. Its movement was unnervingly smooth, almost intelligent, and it illuminated the ground beneath it with an otherworldly glow. A luminous blue orb hovered just outside, its light pulsating softly, as if alive. It was about the size of a basketball, radiating a strange energy that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. That happens to me every time I hear that solo in Master of Puppets, where they do the guitar mini thing. Never mind. I scrambled back into bed, pulled the blanket over my head, and peeked out cautiously. The orb moved right up toward the window, filling the room with its bluish light. Paralyzed with fear, I lay still until it finally floated away, disappearing into the night. The experience left me rattled. Even now, I can see its eerie glow in my mind's eye. The Mothman Encounter. So here's the main event. We're doing a Mothman show. The final, most terrifying experience occurred one night while stargazing at my cousin's house, near the woods behind my school. We often ventured out at night to stargaze, since the area had so little light pollution. Our favorite spot was a small horse trailer belonging to my uncle. We'd climb onto the roof with binoculars and lay down, trying to identify constellations and planets. On this particular night, as we approached the trailer, I noticed something odd on top of it. At first it looked like a black trash bag thrown onto the roof. I pointed it out to my cousin and we cautiously approached. When we were about 15 feet away, my cousin shined his flashlight on it. The beam revealed something that froze us in place. Its wings unfurled, and its head emerged, revealing a terrifying visage. Giant, glowing red eyes, sharp, shark-like teeth, a slit nose, and a grayish, black humanoid body with tattered, bat-like wings. We stood there motionless, unable to move. The creature's breath was visible in the cold night air as it hissed at us, its wings slowly extending. The hiss was low and guttural, sending shivers down my spine. Finally, we were overcome with terror and bolted, sprinting back to the house as fast as we could. When we reached the house, breathless and trembling, my uncle saw the fear on our faces and knew we weren't joking. Grabbing his gun and a spotlight, he went back out with us to search the area, but the creature was gone. The next day at school, we shared our experience during art class. We didn't know what we had seen, but our teacher overheard us and interrupted. She pulled up a picture of the Mothman on her computer, and it matched the creature perfectly. His face burned into my memory. Even now, when I'm alone outside at night, I can't help but look up, scanning the skies and shadows, afraid it might return. I still have nightmares that it has come back for me. After that night, all the strange activity seemed to stop, but I've spent years trying to make sense of these experiences, still haunted by the things I saw and heard. And we are woefully out of time. I gotta get ready. Gotta get the Men in Black suit all pressed and ready to go. We'll see you at Mothman Festival. Be on the lookout. Come say howdy. Give me a hug. Tell us your story. If you can't make it to Mothman Festival, but you've seen Mothman, send us an email, indarkplacespod@hotmail.com. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate you. Thanks to the Nighthawk radio crew. We'll see you again right here next week. God bless.